Hey, my Legion, how y'all doing today? Today I'm here to review another movie, and it's a obscure movie from 1978 called Terror. I keep wanting to say The Terror, but it's called Terror, and I found out about this because on IMDb I started to find out that for certain movies they actually have full episodes of sneak previews on there. And one thing when I was a kid, as finding out about sneak previews, I used to watch The Dogs of the Week, because that's how I found the movie that I would, well, for the most part, that some of them really are lousy. A lot of horror films and stuff like that I found to drive it. Some of the stuff is rare stuff that I missed, as a kid. And, I found later on. The one thing, I know a lot of horror fans don't like Siskel and Ebert just for that, because they bash a lot of horror films, but I mean, I learned a lot about movies from their show, and they really started the whole thing about serious movie discussion. We had those movie review shows that sadly ended whenever the last really serious one, on regular TV, was when PBS had Roger Ebert at the movies for like a year or so, whenever he had that, and then that was the end of the show, and then he passed a couple years later, and that was pretty much the end of the movie review shows, at least on regular TV. And like I said, the one thing I liked about the Dog Week, they exposed like companies who actually did re-release movies and put it under a different title, which is Dirty Pool as far as I'm concerned. Especially a good movie, even Roger Ebert said it was a good movie. He was saying like one about an ad campaign because Brooke Shields became really popular, and she was in a movie called Alice Sweet Alice, which she was like 10 or something like that, a long time in the 70s. And then was her success of Blue Lagoon, and they kept re-releasing under different titles. I guess in 75 was called Communion with Brooke Shields, and then 77 was they re-released it as Alice Sweet Alice. That's the title I know it as. And then Roger Ebert said in 1980 they re-released it again under the title Holy Terror. Well, I don't know if she was 10. She was probably, 15, 16. I don't know how old she was. But no, I think it's Dirty Pool whenever movies re-release stuff under a different title. And I think Gene Siskel, I remember they had like those popular double bills that was like Cemetery Playthings and Graveyard Desires, and he said he saw Graveyard Desires and he was like an older Italian film made 10 years before. They just gave it a different title, so I think that's Dirty Pool. Well, anyways, I was watching some of these, and he was telling about a movie called The Terror from 1978. I never heard of the movie before. I think pretty much could have had the throwaway title, because The Terror, or Terror as it's called, whenever I think of that, I think of the very unusual Roger Corman movie with starring Boris Karloff and Jack Nicholson. That's what I think of. But The Terror is from Crown International, a really great movie that they hated, of course. Roger Ebert hated it, of course, saying it's too gruesome. And it was about like this witch that was burned a long time ago, and the descendants that live in this one house are meant to be done away with, all the descendants of this family timeline, because they were the one that captured and burned the witch. And it starts out, they were showing some stuff, and then it ended up being a movie in the house. And they said, well, we filmed this on the house. And they said, yeah, it's probably a good way to do it cheap. I think he had like a movie production studio or something like that. And, and they had a bunch of action the first time. You think that's probably all the action in the movie. But no, it keeps going from there. It's really interesting. They put this one girl in a trance that's like a descendant, and she goes and she tries to attack the guy with a sword. That's one of the descendants. And it's action, but there's lots of great stuff. Lots of gruesome stuff happens throughout the movie. I mean, it starts off with like a gruesome montage or stuff like that, and it's a lot like that the whole movie. Not super gruesome, but I mean, it doesn't really take a lot of breaks, and when it does, it has interesting stuff in that strip club and stuff. It's really a great movie. I loved it. It had like a neat effect of this car and stuff. I really enjoyed it. The only problem is sometimes things happen in the dark and you can't see what exactly is going on. Or like this girl's on this, climbing up this staircase, all of a sudden she's stabbed in all these different directions, like in her foot and all this, and you don't know where the thing's coming from. I mean, that doesn't make sense, but it's still very entertaining. I love it. I think Terror from 1978 Now, I never would have heard of this movie if it wasn't for them, because usually I'm pretty keen on John will vouch for that, remembering these obscure movies, but this is one I missed. I probably would have always missed it. I never heard of it. It's called Terror from 1978, Crown International. It's on YouTube, by the way, and I loved it. I get a full-on 10 out of 10. It's a lot of fun. And there's another movie called The Day After Halloween I got to watch. That was really tough to find. I just heard about this. I looked it up, and it was on YouTube, which was really cool. It might be on Amazon Prime. I'm not sure. I highly recommend. It's called Terror. I keep wanting to say The Terror, but it's called Terror. It's awesome. Like I said, I got to review that Day After Halloween soon. Give a review about that. I'm still doing Venom Week too. You know what I mean. By the time you see this, Venom Week will be over with. I wanted to just say thank you to them for letting me know about this movie. I'm sure that wasn't their intention. I know a lot of people, horror movies fans, watch the Dog of the Week to see what movies to see. I don't think that was ever Siskel and Ebert's intention. Siskel or Ebert's intention. But I want to thank Roger for letting me know about this movie. It's awesome. I loved it. It's a lot of fun. Some of the movies they have really suck. But this one is a great one. I'll tell you a slash movie that really sucked was He Knows You're Alone. The first 10 minutes is really good, and then it gets really boring. And the first 10 minutes are good, and then the scenes with Tom Hanks, that was like his first movie, were good. And that was it. The movie sucks. Now that's a bad one. And I didn't like Prom Night either. The very first Prom Night, I thought it was boring. With Jamie Lee Curtis. I love Terror Train, but I hated Prom Night. So, I hope you like this review of Terror from 1978. Until next time, bye please. Take care, my religion. All right, bye, we're going.